Gemini, when was the last time you truly heard your own voice? Not the words you say every day to please others, nor the quick responses you use to avoid getting hurt, but the real voice, the one from your heart, your soul, the part of you that you once knew so well. Do you remember? There was a time you could talk for hours about what you believed in, about the dreams that kept you awake until morning. But lately, something inside you has gone quiet. Not the peaceful kind of quiet, but the silence of a soul, afraid to speak its truth. You've been measuring every word, carefully choosing every thought, just to avoid causing trouble, just to keep someone from walking away. And in that silence, you realize you're starting to disappear. Gemini, you were born to connect, to speak to the world with your mind and your emotions. But if someone makes you doubt the worth of your own voice, if they make you feel you must shrink yourself just to be loved, then that's no longer connection. It's a bond that's slowly draining your spirit. I know, letting go isn't easy for you. You always think, if I just speak a little softer, if I'm a little more understanding, things will be fine. But your soul is whispering, I can't stay silent any longer. Or, if you feel this truth in your heart, leave a small message below. I'm ready to find my voice again. Because sometimes a single sentence can open the door to your own return. And before we begin this journey, take a few moments for yourself. Pour a cup of warm tea or your favorite coffee, sit quietly for a while, and let me tell you a story that perhaps your soul has been waiting to hear all this time. Part 1. When you can no longer hear your own voice. Gemini, when was the last time you truly listened to the voice within you? Not the sounds from the outside world. Not the voices of people you're trying to please. Not the small but constant noises that fill your mind until there's no space left for silence. When you were a child, your mind used to shine so brightly. You were curious, the one who never stopped asking questions. You could see both sides of every story, understand the things others couldn't put into words. You were the freest soul in the room, the one who laughed, who listened, who made others see themselves more clearly. But one day, something inside you began to change. You still spoke, but it was no longer your true voice. You still shared, but you swallowed your words for fear of being misunderstood. You used to inspire others, but now you stay silent to keep the peace. You used to connect deeply, but slowly you began to realize in all those conversations, you were no longer truly there. Gemini, you can feel it, can't you? Something inside you has lost its signal, its connection to your own soul. You can be next to someone and still feel alone. You can talk all day, but when night falls, there's an unexplainable emptiness quietly spreading through your heart. You start to wonder, who am I, if I can't speak what I truly think? Sometimes, the person who puts you in this state isn't malicious. It could be someone you deeply love, respect, or someone you believed understood you best. But they, perhaps unintentionally or sometimes deliberately, make you question your own intelligence, your emotions, and your intuition. You say something. They gently argue, leaving you confused. You share your joy. They respond with indifference. You tell them about a dream, and they say you're too sensitive, and so you start to shrink. You begin to question every thought you have. Gemini, you are an air sign. You exist through the energy of flow, of exchange, of words. When others fall silent, you can still find ways to connect. But when you are the one forced into silence, that's when your soul starts to suffocate. Not because you are weak, but because you were born to exchange energy through words, through eye contact, through ideas. When you can't share, it feels as if the wind within you has been trapped inside a sealed bottle. And the most dangerous part is you start to believe that this is normal. That being silent, that choosing your words carefully, that speaking softly so others won't be upset, is just part of growing up. But it's not. It's how your soul slowly gets suffocated, piece by piece. How many ideas have you abandoned just because you feared being called too talkative? How many emotions have you kept to yourself because they wouldn't understand anyway? How many times have you chosen silence over truth just to keep a relationship from falling apart? If, as you hear these words, you feel a soft ache in your chest that's not random, that's your soul wanting to be heard again. It's knocking, reminding you that it's time to find your true voice once more. The universe never created Gemini to stand in the background. You were born with the wings of language, with the gift of thought and intelligence. When you speak, the world expands. When you stay silent too long, your energy contracts. And that's why you feel tired, lost, and empty. So now, take a deep breath. Pour yourself a cup of warm tea or your favorite coffee. Set aside all the noise, the messages, the scattered thoughts. Sit down just you and me like two old friends, talking under the soft yellow light at the end of the day. Because what comes next isn't just a story, it's an awakening meant only for you, Gemini. Part 2. Identifying the issue. The person who makes you doubt yourself. Gemini, have you ever wondered why you, someone so intelligent, sharp, capable of seeing multiple sides of every issue, could find yourself in a relationship that slowly erodes your confidence in your own voice? Have you ever looked back and realized you no longer speak with the same freedom, no longer think with the same confidence, and no longer feel safe expressing who you truly are? The frightening part is this. The person who brought you to that state isn't obviously bad. They don't yell, insult, or control you through violence or commands. Their control is more subtle through words, through intellect, through a gaze that makes you question your own reality. They're someone you once admired. Maybe a lover, a friend, a mentor, someone you believed understands me the most. They appear calm, rational, and quick to spot your flaws before you do. They make you feel like they're helping you grow, that they only want the best for you. But over time, you start to notice with every word they say, you shrink a little more. When you speak of a dream, they frown. Be more realistic. And, ah. When you speak of a dream, when you share a feeling, they smile softly. You're overthinking again. When you get excited about an idea, they counter immediately. I don't think that's really possible. And you, once a creative, free spirit, begin to doubt your own intuition. Gemini, you are ruled by thought and communication. You can see both sides of everything. And that's exactly what makes you vulnerable to these dynamics. When someone plants a seed of doubt inside you, you start spinning it in your head. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. And so you push yourself into a loop of proving, explaining, and apologizing for your own emotions. The other person doesn't even need to control you because you start doing it for them. You begin choosing silence. You tell yourself, better to say less, to keep the peace. You decide, don't be too enthusiastic. It might bother them. You wait for the right moment to share, but somehow they're never really ready to listen. And then you start disappearing, not all at once, but piece by piece in every unspoken story, every dream cut short, every idea extinguished before it could take form. Gemini, do you see it? They haven't just taken your heart, they've taken space in your mind. You think about them before you speak. You edit yourself before you share. You consider their feelings before allowing yourself to feel anything at all. And while you revolve around them, you forget who you are. This energy doesn't only appear in romantic relationships. It can come from a friend, a coworker, even a family member. Anyone who makes you feel like you must be careful around them. Someone who leaves you feeling drained after every conversation. Not because you argued, but because you had to constantly adjust yourself so they wouldn't feel threatened by your light. Gemini, the universe never intended for you to lose your essence, just to keep a connection. You were born to speak what others fear to say, to see what others cannot see, to turn conflict into wisdom, not to shrink yourself to fit into someone else's comfort zone. They may be intelligent, but that doesn't give them the right to take away your faith in yourself. They may be perceptive, but that doesn't mean they understand your soul better than you do, because no one is worth losing the voice of your soul for. That voice is your compass, your life force, your bridge to the world. Once you lose it, life begins to bend and distort. It no longer tastes like you. If you find yourself constantly filtering your words to avoid hurting someone, maybe you're already losing yourself. Leave a comment as a declaration of your soul. I choose my freedom again. I choose my freedom again. And don't forget to hit subscribe, because in the next part, I'll help you understand why these relationships are drawn to Gemini and how the universe is calling you to rise beyond them and truly awaken. Take a deep breath, Gemini. We're about to step into the most honest part of this journey. Part 3. The 3 types of Gemini and the connections that make you lose yourself. Gemini, you are the sign of duality, both wind and voice. On the outside, you're radiant, sociable, articulate, but inside, you're thoughtful, sensitive, and always observing yourself. That's why no 2 Geminis are ever truly the same. Though you share the same archetypal energy, each birth phase carries its own lesson, a unique kind of connection that can make you lose yourself most easily. It's as if the universe divided Gemini's soul lessons into 3 paths, 3 journeys for you to recognize and say, so this is why I keep attracting the same kind of person. Listen closely. You might see yourself in one of these stories. Gemini Group 1, May 21. May 30. The mindful thinker, enchanted by intelligence. Mindful thinker. My mindful thinker. Mindful thinker. Mindful thinker. Mindful think. And forethinker. Mindful thinker. Mindful thinker. You are the Gemini of ideas, of stories, of curiosity and knowledge. Your mind is sharp, your perception quick, your ability to read people uncanny. Yet, this very intelligence makes you easily drawn to those who seem even more brilliant. You admire them. You love the way they reason, the way they command a room, the clarity of their logic. You tell yourself, they're on my wavelength. They'll help me grow. But over time, you notice every time you share a thought, they correct it, they refine it, they make you feel like you're never quite enough. You start to retreat in conversations, speaking less, listening more, but not the kind of listening that comes from empathy. It's the kind born from fear of being contradicted. You appear calm on the surface, but inside, your unspoken words are burning. This person isn't necessarily bad. They simply express their intellectual dominance, unconsciously, but you, once confident, allow them to define your worth. Gemini, remember this. Your intellect is the light of your soul. No one can dim it unless you hand them the switch. The lesson for this group: trust your own perspective. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be true. If you ever find yourself in a relationship where you must ask for permission to speak, that's not connection, that's control. Gemini Group 2, May 31, June 10. The Curious Connector. Lost in emotion. You are the Gemini of connection, the one who makes others feel seen, heard, and understood. You have a soft heart and crave harmony. You don't just communicate with words, but through energy, eye contact, and emotion. That's why you often fall into relationships where emotions become invisible chains. This person makes you feel needed, loved, but over time, they convince you that without them, you cannot be at peace. They create emotional dependency, where you live in constant anticipation of a text, a response, a glance, just to reassure yourself that you're still enough. When they go silent, you panic. When they grow distant, you blame yourself. And slowly, you stop living by your own emotions and start syncing with the rhythm of theirs. Gemini, you love freedom, yet in love, you often forget your boundaries. You give endlessly, soothe endlessly, share your entire soul. But when it's not reciprocated, you feel empty. The lesson for this group: learn to love without losing yourself. Emotion is beautiful, but it should never be a cage. Love should not make you smaller. It should help you soar higher. Gemini Group, 3 June 11, June 20. The evolving soul, pulled down by heavy energy. The Revi Arsis, the Regent Cog. You are the most mature and spiritually evolved, Gemini, the one who's been through cycles of awakening and transformation. Your energy is deeply spiritual, intuitive, and empathetic, so much so that you absorb the emotions of those around you. This makes you a magnet for heavy souls, people wounded, lost, or burdened, who come to you as if you are their healer. At first, you think you're helping. You listen, comfort, encourage, sacrifice. But the longer you stay, the dimmer your own light becomes. You stay up late trying to save them. You carry their pain on your shoulders, and one day you realize you've lost your own energy in the process. Gemini, you are not obligated to be the lighthouse for everyone. You were born to light your own path, not to burn out keeping others warm. The lesson for this group: protect your energetic frequency. You can be compassionate without dissolving into others. You can love deeply without saving anyone at the cost of yourself. Universal message: boundaries and clarity. 3 groups, 3 stories, but one shared lesson: boundaries and mental clarity. Gemini is air, but even the wind needs direction. Without boundaries, you'll get lost in other people's storms. Without clarity, you'll be drawn into conversations your soul never agreed to have. The universe is teaching you discernment, to know which voice is truly yours and which is merely an echo. And only when you pause and listen will you realize you were never weak. You were simply learning to choose what truly deserves your mind and your energy. Part 4. The emotional climax. When love becomes a cage for your mind and soul. Gemini, have you ever looked at yourself in the mirror, smiling at someone, yet deep down you knew that smile no longer belonged to you? Have you ever spoken gentle words just to keep the peace, while a part of your soul was screaming inside, misunderstood, diminished, trapped between the walls of love and fear? You are the sign of words, the one who carries the fire of communication, of thought, of endless curiosity about people and the world. And yet, now there are moments when it feels as though your own voice has betrayed you. You speak, but no one truly listens. You smile, but it's only to hide the loneliness in your eyes. You blend in, you nod, you listen, You compromise all to avoid breaking anything apart. But in keeping everything peaceful, you've lost the most precious thing of all, yourself. You used to take pride in your ability to see every perspective, to understand even what others left unsaid. But that same empathy made you forgive too easily those who hurt you. You told yourself, they're just under pressure, or they didn't mean it, or maybe I'm just too sensitive. You always found reasons to understand, to stay, to keep loving. Until one morning you woke up and realized you've been living inside a cage called love. Not a cage made of iron, but one built from your own kindness, patience, and fear of loss. You thought, if I'm gentler, more patient, they'll love me the right way. You thought, if I argue less, if I challenge less, they'll feel safer with me. You thought, if I just make myself smaller, maybe this love will last. But Gemini, your soul knows this is wrong. Every time you stay silent to avoid conflict, you dim the voice of your intuition. Every time you agree just to keep the peace, you betray your own intellect. Every time you say, it's okay, while your heart tightens, you close another door within your soul. Gemini, you were not born to live inside anyone's cage, even if that cage is called love. Because for you, love can never be where freedom dies. It must be where freedom multiplies. If love forces you to cut off parts of yourself just to keep someone close, then it's no longer love, it's captivity, dressed in beautiful promises. And the painful truth is, you still try to hold on because you think, maybe they'll change. You think, maybe if I try just a little harder. But the more you try, the further you drift from yourself. The longer you stay, the more your soul grows tired, lost, directionless. This isn't because you are weak. It's because you are too strong. Strong enough to endure pain for the sake of protecting others. Instead of protecting yourself, you sacrifice your voice so others can feel comfortable. You suppress your intellect so others won't feel threatened. You dim your light so they won't feel small. But Gemini, when you do that, you are also telling the universe, my light doesn't deserve to shine, and that is what wounds your soul the most. There will come a moment when you realize you cannot hold both freedom and the cage at the same time. You cannot keep living in an environment that suffocates your mind and your soul, and still call it happiness. The universe didn't create you to be a shadow in your own story. It created you to be the storyteller, the one who dares to speak, who dares to blow the wind of truth into the silent spaces. You can't keep both your freedom and your cage. You can't have both. And by now, your heart already knows that. It might hurt. It might be lonely in those first nights when you learn to live without them. But that loneliness is freedom, not control. It's the first breath after breaking the surface of deep water, the moment your soul finally remembers how to breathe again. Part 5. Transformation. Learning to let go and return to the freedom of your mind. Gemini, maybe it's time to take a deep breath and admit it, you're tired. Tired of holding on to something that no longer resonates with your soul. Tired of carrying the weight of being the understanding one, the gentle one, the adaptable and forgiving one. But deep down, you know the truth. Your soul longs for only one thing: to be free again. Gemini belongs to the air element, light, flexible, ever-changing. You were never meant to stay still forever, nor to cling to what no longer feels alive. Your energy is like the wind, sometimes soft, sometimes powerful, but always meant to move, to flow, to bring new meaning wherever it goes. The universe gifted you with the power of dialogue, not just with others, but with yourself. You learn through every conversation, every experience, every stumble. Everyone who enters your life is a teacher, even the one who made you lose your voice. They didn't come to destroy you. They came to teach you the lesson of trusting your own intellect and intuition. When they challenged your words, they pushed you to listen deeper within. When they silenced you, they helped you realize the value of your voice. When they made you doubt yourself, they unknowingly sparked your awakening, reminding you that your truth does not need anyone's approval to have worth. Gemini, when you say goodbye, you're not truly losing a relationship. You're closing an old cycle of awareness, a chapter where you lived to be accepted, to be loved, to be right, and you're opening a new one where you live to be free, authentic, and awake. Don't mistake letting go for weakness. Letting go is the act of someone who has finally understood the lesson. To let go doesn't mean you stop loving. It means you understand that love cannot grow inside chains. To let go doesn't mean resentment, it means gratitude. For they taught you something no one else could. To let go is not failure. It's a sacred act of realignment between you and the universe. Imagine your mind as a vast field of wind. All this time, too many foreign sounds have echoed through it: opinions, criticism, doubt, silence. All that noise has drowned out the original song of your soul. And letting go is the moment you turn down all those echoes to finally hear the true wind again. When you let go, you're sending a powerful signal to the universe. I've learned the lesson of loss. Now, I choose to listen to myself again. The universe never punishes you for loving the wrong person or believing the wrong thing. It only waits for you to recognize the lesson and shift your frequency. Because once you do, new people, new relationships, and new opportunities will begin to find you, the ones that align with who you've become. Gemini, do you know why you're a mutable sign? Because you were born to transform. You were sent here to turn old stories into wisdom, to transform pain into words that heal, to turn silence into messages of truth. You can't stop changing because change is how your soul evolves. Remember this: not everyone who leaves is a loss. Some people leave only to make space for your return. And sometimes, all you need to be free is a single moment of courage. The courage to let go, the courage to stop, the courage to say, enough. Now, take a deep breath. Feel the cool air touch your chest. That is the universe whispering to you. Welcome back, Gemini. I've been waiting for your return. Part 6. When Gemini says goodbye. To be truly heard again. Gemini, every journey has its moment of silence. When you finally step out of that relationship, away from the things that made you shrink, the world suddenly becomes quiet in the strangest way. No more constant messages. No more exhausting conversations filled with contradictions. No more explaining yourself just to be understood, or compromising just to be loved. Only you remain, your breath, and a vast, open space. At first, that emptiness feels terrifying. It feels like free falling through the sky, no anchor, no direction, no one beside you. But take a breath, Gemini. Breathe slowly. And listen. Can you hear it? Somewhere within that silence, a faint sound is returning the voice of your soul. In that stillness, your Gemini intuition begins to speak again, softly, but clearly enough for you to pause and truly feel. This is me. This is where I belong. You begin to remember the things you thought were lost. The ideas that once set your heart on fire. The dreams you scribbled in an old notebook. The things you wanted to say and do, but buried because someone once told you, that's unrealistic. That's silly. It's not the right time. Now, all of it is coming back slowly but surely. No rush, no noise, just you, returning to your purest self. You realize that letting go never took anything from you. It only removed what no longer resonated, to give you back what was always yours. Then the universe begins to respond, sending new signals, new people, new souls. They don't arrive with noise or urgency. They don't demand explanations. They simply understand. They listen when you speak. They smile when you share. They feel your energy even without words. They're not intimidated by your intelligence, nor threatened by your light. They don't need you to dim yourself so they can shine. Instead, they shine with you. Gemini, that's when you'll know. The universe has been listening to your quiet prayers all along. You no longer have to chase to be seen because those who truly belong to you will see you, even in your silence. You no longer have to lower your voice to fit because they'll love your real voice, wild and alive as it is. That is the reward of this journey. Resonance. When you release what no longer serves your soul, you're not losing, you're opening. You're opening the door to lighter, purer, more honest connections. You're opening your heart to yourself, the part of you you've ignored for too long. And you're opening a new chapter of your life, one where every word, every idea, every feeling carries the vibration of truth and freedom. Gemini, you may have cried, fallen, and wondered, was I wrong to let go? But remember this. Goodbye isn't an ending, Gemini. It's the first word of your next chapter. This farewell isn't a closure. It's the birth of a new version of you. Stronger, brighter, and truer to your essence. So now, Gemini, smile. This journey was never about forgetting someone. It was about remembering yourself. A new chapter is unfolding, and this time, that voice belongs entirely to you. Gemini, the journey you've just walked through isn't only a story about love or separation. It's a story about coming home to the true voice of your soul, to trust in your intuition, and to the worth you once forgot amid the noise of life. When you learn to let go, you don't lose anyone. You simply release the version of yourself that was exhausted from trying too hard to be loved, making room for the freer, wiser, and stronger self to emerge. Life will always send people who test your faith in yourself. But instead of blaming them, be grateful, because through them, the universe reminded you of what it always wanted you to remember. No one can make you smaller unless you allow it, and the day you dare to say enough is the day you begin to truly live. If you're hearing these words, your soul may already be ready to step into a new chapter. Carry today's lesson with you. Speak when you need to speak. Don't let fear silence you. Love, but never forget to keep space for yourself, and trust that the voice within you is the most reliable compass you'll ever have. If this video has touched your heart, leave a comment below saying, "I'm ready for my new chapter," as a promise to yourself. Hit like to send positive energy into the universe, and subscribe so you don't miss the next astrological journey where every video opens a new doorway to awareness, healing, and freedom. Thank you for staying until the end of this journey. Remember, Gemini, you don't need anyone to listen in order to exist. Once you begin to truly hear yourself again, the entire universe will vibrate in harmony with your frequency. See you in the next video, where the voice of the Gemini soul will continue to rise, freer and more radiant than ever before.